Welcome everybody to the AI Engineering Bootcamp Cohort 5. We are talking LLM ops today. And realistically, we're continuing the discussion about taking prototypes to production. And we're going to focus a little bit more on stuff we do once they're set up and they're operating, and we can check them out. So we're going to sort of use all the tools that we know that we have in our tool belt so far to get things set up. And then we're going to go check out what we should be looking at once they're set up with some of the latest tools. So I wanted to do a couple quick shout outs to some upcoming stuff because, ooh, this week, look at all the building, shipping, and sharing that's been going on. I think you guys needed a break after the midterm. Now, there have been folks out there getting after it, putting their homeworks out there as usual, but obviously with the midterm week, we don't have homeworks to consistently give you guys. But I want to just triple down on reminding you guys with this blank slide right here that now is a great time to share what you've already built, especially all of you 34 people that built something cool for the midterm. It's a great time to get out there and start sharing it with folks, because just because you don't think it's useful doesn't mean it's not. I've heard this time and time again, and from folks in this cohort, and I heard it twice this week, that people, as we focus on what's coming up here, they went to meetups and they were like, oh, nobody here really knows anything. They're so used to hanging out at AI Makerspace that they're like, I thought everybody knew this stuff. And, and I think that it's really important for you guys to get out there and start sharing now that you've made it to the edge, because it really is key, and it's going to increase your confidence to levels that you just can't even imagine yet today. So, one of the things that I want to share with you guys, because we have some skin in the game on this. Sometimes you don't get to share until much later, and that's okay. In fact, we're doing something starting tomorrow night. So we've got a live premiere. We're going to be open sourcing the cohort that we just taught last year called LLM Engineering. This is what happens inside the LLM. Some of you guys even took this course, and we've decided to go ahead and give it away to our audience, at least the content, not the specific details of, you guys chatting with us and all of that, but the concepts and code, because we think that it's going to add value to a much larger set of people in our network. And we think that's important. So we've got skin in the game on this. Sometimes it takes a while, but that's okay. Don't forget, you can share too. And shout out to another community member who will be sharing next week. So our YouTube launch tomorrow is Friday. On Tuesday, or on Wednesday, it looks like, March 12th at 3 p.m. ET, you can get hands-on with AutoGen. This is AG2. It's actually the new AutoGen, new startup. Yours truly, Jacob Kilpatrick, will be teaching, building, shipping, and sharing. Jacob, you've got some great stuff in store, I do believe. Do you want to give any quick shout out? This is your promotion opportunity here.
Yeah, it should be a fun time. I mean, I've been kind of diving deep into AG2 for the past couple of weeks, and in the course, we've really just only looked at LangGraph and kind of have seen that perspective on how to orchestrate agents. And now this is kind of an opportunity to kind of look at different platforms and different frameworks and see how others do it.
Love it, love it. And this is your opportunity, guys. Jacob has been judging all of you ridiculously harshly the entire time here. It's your opportunity to get in the Discord and judge him right back. Jacob, we're looking forward to it. We can't wait. Because we all want to have skin in the game. This is the beginning of a journey. It's not the end. And, the journey goes down all these different rabbit holes. Next week, you can join us. This is a particularly important and deep rabbit hole for me as somebody that got a PhD in optimization 10 years ago. And so I'm really excited about this optimization series we're kicking off. Wiz and I, this is something we've wanted to do for quite some time, but it's finally come together in the right way. This is another seed, another trail ahead, let's say, that you guys can continue to explore as you look for what to build, ship, and share next. And this is related to some of the feedback that we got this week. Sort of this idea of what to do next, what to learn next, what to think next, what to build next, what to ship next, what to share next. So you guys liked the last sesh. Words cannot express how important I think this is. Love that. Excited about more production cookbooks. I think one of the things about production is it's hard to put together cookbooks because you're just kind of you're not in a real environment when you're doing this kind of, sandboxed thing. So you kind of just have to get out there. And this is where when you ask for things like cover more productionalized LLM apps, it's like, well, what do you mean by that exactly? And I think even being able to articulate that is a nice next step. We're not going to do more front end creation, although again, if you're into front end stuff, we'd love to see you jump in, do a community session, teach us about front end stuff if you're a front end kind of person. Um, Thanks for the feedback on being very digestible. We did tell you guys, and we will continue to try to drill it in. Hey, you need an account this time, you need an account that time. And we've also added specifically based on this feedback that we want the peer supporters to go ahead and remind you guys when you get in the room, hey, this is an account that you should have had set up already. So hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier for you. This was another great one. Looking for next things to kind of extend the learning on model routing or other optimization techniques. Join us for the optimization series. Maybe a deep dive on any scale or array. Open to workshopping. Okay, there's another workshop. I mean, part of it is we want you guys to feel empowered to go build, ship, and share. And if you can do it in our community, I promise you can do it in your local cities' meetups. And you will feel very, very empowered and like you know a lot more than pretty much everybody around you if you practice with the folks in the AIM Discord. So shout out to Wiz for the live debugging. Shout out to the Journey group. Love that again. And as we sort of get into today, I want to just give you guys a quick heads up. It's March. Demo day is coming up. I just want to throw this calendar up here because I want you guys to think about exactly what you're building and exactly how much time you have to do it. Of course, many of you know already what you're going to build because you started building it for the midterm and it's most of the way done. We'll talk more about the demo day specifics next Tuesday because next week you're not going to have homework that's actually due. What we want you to work on, of course, we want you to do the assignments in class, but we want you to work on your project. And so the assignment you'll get will be very simple. What's the project? Give us what we need for marketing. Give us what we need for putting it on YouTube. In short, give us what we need to share it with the world in the way that our audience expects. So I got a quick question today. It was like, what exactly do we need to submit for demo day? Well, it's going to be much less rigorous than the midterm. You're going to need to submit slides. You're going to need to submit code. You're going to need to tell Sriracha, here's my title, here's a 1 to 2 sentence description. And you're going to have to tell us who's on your team. And really, that's all there is to it, guys. This is the spot in the cohort where everything that we do from here, it may or may not add value to your project. So I really, really want to push all of you guys back to thinking as we talk more about production stuff today and in the next couple of sessions. What is it that you want to push to production? What is it that you want to build, ship, and share? What is it that you want to prototype and create some real value for yourself, for your company, maybe for your community, but hopefully for the world? What is it that you should be doing next and why? It's an important time to really start asking those questions. All right, so as we align ourselves to today, what we want to kind of cover is we want to go from this idea of just using endpoints to now, okay, we've got the app set up. What are we doing? How can we continue to optimize it? How can we look at the operations while it's actually working in production? How can we learn a little bit more about what this LLM ops thing means? Because You guys, as again, when you go out in the world, you'll see this. You guys will be the experts amongst your peers. Okay. And you'll want to continue to seek out groups with people that are as expert as you. Hopefully you can find that, continue to find that in the AI Makerspace community. But certainly you should be looking locally to wherever you are as well. So we're going to continue our discussion from prototyping into production. We're going to also talk about how to actually look at taking a RAG application and doing some monitoring of production RAG. And we want to sort of set it up so when we build the RAG application, we want to kind of do it with production-minded specific things. And we'll talk about a few of them that we think are super important that aren't necessarily built in under the hood that you should be adding right after you add those open source endpoints. So we'll give you a couple next steps. We'll do our first build. We'll talk MLOps. We'll do our second build, which should be quite a lot of fun, where we're going to actually take deep research off the shelf, the open deep research one, not the unrolled one, but we're going to just go ahead and grab it. And then we're going to see what it looks like when we actually visualize that thing in something like LangGraph Studio, the quote unquote agent IDE. So we're going to be really, really edgy today by the end of the sesh, but we want to start off by continuing our journey into production. And then really the whole idea here is like LLM ops, monitoring, visualizing, debugging, interacting, evaluating, improving, making it more effective, making it more efficient, making it, create more value for the enterprise. This is all kind of how all of this comes together from prototyping to production in the enterprise. So we talked about this last time. What does the enterprise want? They want it all, right? They want everything automated, from prompt versioning to all of the code obviously being versioned, to testing everything, putting little guardrails on the end, making sure, hey, is it in spec? Am I giving weird responses to people? Or on the other side of it, am I getting sort of weird latency issues? Maybe I'm having hardware concerns. This is where we start to get into the true DevOps and operational stuff. And we go down the list. We talked about making it more private and more scalable with open source endpoints. And today we're going to talk more about this idea of what should we be logging? What should we be following the trace of? How should we be thinking about optimizing either performance from a user perspective or performance just from an engineering and cost perspective? All of this kind of comes together, but in terms of sort of one focus area today, I want to talk about, let's call it observability, okay? Now, the dream of observability is that we're sort of hands-free, everything's totally automated, and we just get automatic alerts when stuff is wrong, that we just have these automatic sensors and sniffers all over our applications, and it works perfect. It's like a beautiful, fully put together, physical plant or something. You think of like a highly secure nuclear plant or something. But this is the dream, and we're always moving towards it. And the observability tools are always getting better. The monitoring, the logging, the automated alerts, the optimization. It's always a work in progress, like any product that we make. So we want it all. A lot of it we get for free under the hood. But one of the things that we really want you to focus in on today is caching, okay? Because a lot of this stuff we get for free, and that's great, but some of the stuff we don't get for free, but it's really, really easy. The idea about caching is that obviously cache is king. Everybody loves cache. And if you use caching right, you save a lot of cache. And there are multiple things that we can cache. The first thing is called prompt caching, and this has become more of a buzzword recently. So if we literally cache the query and the response, right? This is a great meme. We can just avoid the whole RAG chain. We don't even need to use it. Oh, oh, you asked that? Boom, that's an FAQ. Whoop, you know? And that's really, really powerful, especially if you're doing this at scale and people are asking the same question all the time. All right. So use this, okay, in production. It doesn't come out of the box necessarily in a lot of cases, but it is worth setting up. But prompts aren't the only things you can cache. You can also cache embeddings. So if you think about a simple RAG system, you might cache instead of query response, you might cache query context. Now, in this case, I don't avoid using the entire RAG chain, but I do avoid doing the dense vector retrieval, which is dope, right? And so we want to think about the implications of decisions like this on production applications, on the bank account of the company. We want to leverage these tools for sure. And so what we want to do first is, I don't even really need to introduce all of this yet. I'm just going to literally tell you what data we're going to use. And we're going to use some fun data from today. We're going to use kind of DeepSeek, the paper. I think you guys have probably heard of it. And by the way, if you go to a meetup, I don't think probably most people at the meetup have read this paper. So, it's like so many of these things that until you really get out of this class, I don't think you'll really kind of feel the vibes that uh, the next level edge vibes you really have today. Now, I want to also introduce you to the models we're going to use. And of course, we're going to use the classics. Oh, no, wait. Let's not use the classics. Let's actually do what we know how to do now and use some open models to set this up. And what we want to do is we want to show you how to create this. And then Wiz is going to do a special walk around Langsmith, show you guys what you should be thinking about, the kinds of things that you should be monitoring, that you should be logging. He's going to show you some features in Langsmith that you'll want to think about using as you start putting these things into production. Some hot tips for you to check out along the way. And then hopefully there's plenty of time for you guys to play with this in your first breakout room of the day. So let's create a RAG app with production-minded changes, and then think about what we're going to be looking at when we operate it in production. Wiz, over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the fun part. We are going to do the thing, right? So the basic idea here should be straightforward. We are going to create some resource. That resource is going to be useful for us to demonstrate RAG. I should probably be sharing my screen right now. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Perfect. We're going to kind of briefly, we're going to really skip, in fact, the setup of the endpoints. This is something that you guys have already done, and so we don't need to kind of it wouldn't be a waste, but we don't need to spend our time going over it again. So that looks like this, right? Boom, boom. We've got our endpoints up. They're going. They're running. They're feeling good. They're feeling happy. That's all we have to do, right? So there's really no more to it than that. If you only paused your endpoints last time, you can just click resume. If you did shut them all down, just go through the process, fill in the box. There you go. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set up some very specific, versions for these tools. We're going to grab our HF key. We're going to put our HF key in here. I noticed that it says OpenAI key here, so we'll just go ahead and whoop, add that and give the old saverino. And then we have our Langsmith set up. So we're going to kind of finally talk more about Langsmith today. We're gonna get into it, as it were. You'll notice that we're gonna set up our tracing equal to true. We're gonna provide our API key. We're gonna name our project, and then we're gonna look at what our project is named. It's gonna be AIM session 16 with this kind of garble of characters. That is our UUID. Okay, so like we talked about before, we already have production RAG, right? So like we start with that with Lang, the Lang X ecosystem. So you know, it just kind of comes with the package that we get these things like automatic, or not automatic, but enabled async, parallel execution in chains, and more. So we get those just by leveraging LCEL, and whatever leverages LCEL is going to inherit those as well. We're going to go ahead and we're going to upload a PDF file. You can upload whatever PDF file you want. If you're running this locally, this will be pointing at a PDF in the actual repo already, which is a DeepSeek R1 PDF, because it's a cool model, and that's why. Once we have that, classic, we're just going to chunk it up. You know, this is what we do. And then we're going to use our PyMu PDF loader to load that PDF into our into a format that's useful, which in this case is documents. And then we're going to talk about cache-backed embeddings. Okay, so what is, you know, Greg talked about it a little bit, but what exactly is a cache? Well, there's two or three different kinds of caches. The one we're going to like think about or care about today is the exact match cache. Okay, so what that means is that if we've seen exactly this thing before, instead of going to the API, spending tokens and spending money, we're just gonna like skip that part, and we're gonna just pull the answer we got from last time, right? So the idea is basically we are circumventing the pay and money part directly. Now, the astute among you, right, may think, well, hang on a second though, but I'm paying for storage. You are paying for storage, right? So there's a lot to consider when we use cache. There's a lot to consider when we try to leverage these patterns, right? We have to put the cache somewhere, and then we have to, you know, pay for it to exist somewhere. And paying for it to exist somewhere is potentially not cheap. The way we're going to leverage the cache-backed embeddings today is just we're going to put it in RAM, which is not super ideal, and then we're going to save it to disk. So it's going to be pretty, you know, pretty straightforwardly good. There's a couple holdups, right? Which is that, well, it's not like, what if they put in a query that's basically the query we have, right? So there's ways we can improve the caching process, but for the most part, the idea is instead of doing the work that we've already done again, we save the work we did last time. We see if the work we need to do is in our cache. If it is, we use that response instead. There you go. Caching, it saves you cache. We got him. Okay, so we're going to point to our Hugging Face embedding model. Same as we did on Tuesday. We're going to locate it here. We're going to create a collection in quadrant. Our quadrant is going to have our 768 sized vectors. We're going to use int memory quadrant because, again, we don't need this to be a permanent fixture, so we're not going to spin up the Docker container. If you want to, let's say you want this to be, exactly what you might deploy on-prem at a business, all that happens is instead of spinning up the client in memory, we point to the client that we spun up through our Docker container, right? So that's the only change. Then we do this thing so that Quadrant doesn't complain. If we fail to do this, Quadrant will complain. Then we're going to set up our local file store. So this is basically a directory that exists here, and this directory is going to be all. This is it. This is what the cache looks like, right? We've got these files. These files have, these embeddings. That's it. That's the whole thing. So what happens is that our query, right, the thing that we're trying to embed, goes through a hash function, and then it maps to one of these files in our cache, and then it literally just reads the result of the embedding vector, and then returns it as a response. So that's the magic behind the scenes. We just plop it in a folder. We also have to include a batch size 32 here because we're using HF endpoints. If we don't, it will complain. Make sure you do. We're also going to use top k equal to 1 here. So you'll remember that when we set up our inference endpoints for our demo, that we limited the actual amount of information that we can put in, right? So we made it like not huge so that it didn't, take all of the GPU memory. So our queries have to be relatively small. And what that means is that we can't have a bunch of context, right? But this is like a real limitation that you'll face out in the world, where we have to take into consideration, well, what's the maximum size that I can support, right, with my memory before I make the endpoint complain, because anything bigger would cause me to have what's called a out of memory error, or OOM. Okay, so that's it. Otherwise, normal stuff: retriever, vector storage retriever. We love it. We're gonna set up a RAG prompt. We're gonna set up our RAG user template. We're gonna create the chat prompt from that. Then for our actual LLM endpoint, we're gonna use HF endpoints again, just like we did before. You'll notice that we have our max new tokens quite small here. This is again just a limitation of the hardware that we were putting the endpoints on. We really want to make sure that we're not causing our system to crash, and so we'd be very safe, here. What this should also tell you is that if you're running this application for realsies, you're likely to need to fork over a little bit more cache, right? And something else I want you guys to think about is that long context, right? That people are excited by consumes our resources extraordinarily quickly, right? So whenever you hear, whenever you hear people say things like RAG is dead, long context all the way, right? This number is directly proportional to to how much money we spend on hardware, right? So we want this number to be able to be as small as it can be, only as large as it needs to be. There you go. So little inside baseball as to why RAG hasn't yet died, despite what you might read on the internet. Okay, the next thing we'll do is we'll set up a in-memory cache. And you know what this is? Boom. That's it. Now, whenever the LLM gets the same prompt, it doesn't need to go to the LLM anymore. We're shortcutting the whole thing, right? That's it. It's the same thing as before, right? We already did this. The only difference is that this time the cache does not exist in a folder. It exists in our memory, which is RAM. So this is a little bit more expensive. And by a little bit more, I mean like a factor, order of magnitude more expensive, but it's very fast. And what we need to do is manage our cache, which we're not going to do here, but it's what you'll want to do when you're building these larger organizations. We care deeply about our caches. But the big news is if you do this, now every time we send a response to the LLM, we don't need to go to the endpoint anymore. We just get boom right back from the cache. Everyone loves that because it's fast. Something else that you'll think about is like, imagine I have an app and that app has like 100,000 users per month, right? And there's any overlap at all between questions that our users are asking. Imagine the positive experience, right, that people will have if they, if they get a really fast response instead of a slow one. That's another thing that cache can help you with. A secret that we don't often talk about is that your LLMs that you interact with this whole course are doing this already, right? So whenever you look at your actual build breakdown from OpenAI, you'll notice that there's a different rate for like cached tokens versus non-cached tokens, and this is because they know the power of caching things, so they've been doing it for you, right? This is a way so that we can do it too, because we want to. Okay. Then, boom, we build a chain and then we use it. That's it. That part's easy. You guys have done it before. So let's look at this whole Langsmith thing. So we're going to look at this Langsmith session. You'll notice I have two responses here. First of all, this is what Langsmith looks like. This is how we use it. We just go to langsmith.com and then we log in and then we're using it, right? That the beauty of Langsmith in the LangX universe is that this is what's required to log this out. Everything else is like secondary, right? So Very cool. Okay, what we're gonna do in Langsmith though is kind of just look through what we're looking at. Take a gander, what have you. The big things that I want to stick out to you guys is that we have this dashboard. This dashboard is going to have this side pane. The side pane is basically going to just have a bunch of stuff that we care about. We have things like how long these things take. They're going to take some amount of time. We hope that it's not loads of time, and we'll discuss how caching impacts this right as we progress through. You'll also notice that we have this main thread area. This is where we actually run things, right? So let's look at our first one, our first trace. You'll see here that we have this trace, and our trace contains all the stuff we did, right? So this is all the stuff we did. If you look at this, it exactly maps to our RAG chain, right? We have a runnable sequence. We go to a parallel runnable. Already, we're leveraging the power of parallelization. We're going to go ahead and grab documents from our vector store retriever. We grab 3 documents here. Very cool, very cool. And then we're going to go to our next session, which is going to be our runnable lambda. All that does is it plots question right in. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, as it were, right? And then we go to our chat prompt template, which is going to collect these 2 things that happen in parallel. And then it's going to shove them into the prompt. And then we're going to get a response from GPT-4o Mini, which took a while to write, all these things. You notice how long it took, right? 14.63 seconds. Insane, right? So what happens if we ask the same question again? How long is it going to take this time? 0.25 seconds, right? Let's frickin' go. So the idea of caching, right, is that instead of taking 14 seconds, it takes less than 1 second. That's better. It's significantly better. I don't even know how else to describe other than it's much better. It's just insane, right? So this is what Langsmith lets us do, right? This is the power of Langsmith. We have and we can look at more projects, right? So all of the kind of projects that I've used for this course or whatever are all going to have these things. We have our data sets that we've saved that we looked at before, right? We have the ability to do some prompt engineering, so we can actually do this in the, we're going to be able to do this like in the UI. Something else too, when we're in let's look at this one specifically, right? When we're in this, one of the things I want to draw your guys' attention to is that this is actually something that's incredibly powerful. We have the ability to add metadata. So we can annotate this, right, with some feedback. We can create custom data based on it. This is hugely important as we head into real production, right? Because we want to know, is LLM good or bad? And the way we can do that is actually have human annotators, right, work through this and tell us if it's good or bad. Tell us why, right? Tell us what needs to improve. All of this is an easy way for us to collect the most valuable feedback, which is human feedback. As well as we can create data sets and do automated stuff. Okay, that's great too. But the idea is loosely that this Langsmith thing comes completely out of the box from enabling those 2 options. That's it. Langsmith, it's amazing. We're going to use it as much as possible. We're going to leverage it a lot today because you're going to hammer the endpoints a little bit. But the idea is that this is how we do it. You can click into these traces. You can see that this vector store retriever occurred in a total of 0.24 seconds, right? Thanks to our cacheback embedding. And then our GPT-4o Mini took absolutely no time at all because we used cache. Literally, it took 0 seconds. And you can see here that there is a small delay incurred by the folder method versus RAM. When your speeds are this low, I don't think that it matters, but we have both just so you can see the difference. Okay, so that's it for me. We're gonna get you guys into your first breakout room. Well, you're gonna set up the notebook. you're going to play with Langsmith. The notebook is going to have you do some activities, which are basically going to be ways that we can test these caches, right? So what that's going to look like is we're going to go ahead and like spam it, like put it like a for loop, right? With 100 requests or whatever. And we're going to see the time it takes for different requests. Maybe use different, length prompts to figure out what the difference is. Whatever it happens to be, it's up to you guys to design that. And then the final activity, right? We want to show the difference between the trace that is leveraging cache-backed embeddings and LLM calls and the one that isn't. Very similar to what I just demonstrated to you, but you'll provide the screenshots in the notebook. With that, back to Greg, who will get us into our first breakout room so we can get cached.
Yeah. Okay. So we're taking the training wheels off, guys. We're in production now. You guys are going to be the experts now. And, I think it's really important that we start providing more build challenge type stuff. This is exactly the kind of thing that you're going to run into when you're out there trying to build ship and share stuff to create real value for customers, whether as a consultant or whether in a full-time job. And so if you can do something like this in 25 minutes, it's like, oh, you are a very, very powerful commander of value in the market today. So and have some fun with your breakout rooms. Jump into Langsmith. Make it kind of make it hard for your peer supporters to answer questions, see where their understanding runs out, see where yours runs out, see that we're all in this kind of together out here on the edge, and enjoy the ride. We'll come back and we'll talk about LLM ops and all the rabbit holes you could fall down trying to really explicate that properly, and then we'll get even more agentic. We'll go even deeper into deep research and visualizing with agent IDEs out at the edge. So see what you can do. Build, ship, and share a open source RAG app. Check it out, what it looks like behind the scenes. Set up embeddings, caches, set up prompt caches, and have some fun with it. We'll see you back in 25 minutes, everybody. And we're back from the break. It's time to talk about LLM ops. So you guys may have noticed that we actually gave you a repo at the beginning of the cohort, and we defined LLM ops in it on the first front page of the README. We defined it as follows. The emerging best practices, tooling, and improvement processes used to manage production LLM applications throughout the AI product lifecycle. Okay, yeah, all right, that sounds like something Dr. Greg would say. I asked Wiz, I was like, well, hey, what's LLM ops? And he's like, well, I mean, it's the operational management of LLM based apps. Now, I think you got to be sort of on a Wiz level to get away with this answer, but you guys could try it out. You guys could try it out, see how it goes. Meetups, see how it goes at different places. The thing I want you guys to understand is like, we've learned how to do all of this. And when we talk about LLM ops, when we talk about the operations for our apps, we're talking about basically improving all of this stuff forever. That's it. And, when we prototype, it's fun. In fact, I love the 0 to 1 of starting businesses. I did it a lot when I was younger, and they all failed, and I never made any money. And it was a complete disaster. But it's really fun. I think what we want, though, ultimately, what we all want, and what you guys want, is you want to figure out something that you can build, ship, share. That you maybe you want to join a team that builds, ships, and shares something in production that never goes down, you think it's worthwhile for this thing to never go down. Because if you don't care if it goes down or not, you probably should work on something else. So when we talk about the operational management of LLM-based applications, we're talking about LLM ops. And we talk about LLM ops, it's rooted in a long history of stuff. There was a big buzzword, and I tried to actually, when I started teaching in Silicon Valley, I started teaching a class called MLOps. And I found this was incredibly hard to teach. It was an incredibly hard class to teach at the time. And it's because, like, when we talk about LLM ops today, we can say it's kind of a subset of ML ops. We could say that. It focuses on LLM specific stuff, infrastructure and ops capabilities that we need to build, deploy, monitor, and scale. And of course, now we know, like, the scaling is kind of built into some of the tooling today. You know, the monitoring, we can pick up all these different tools, but we're looking at the traces, right? We're counting the tokens. We want to see what goes in, what comes out. We want to make the responses good. We can talk about guardrails and go deeper on evaluation, go deeper on everything. If you look and you zoom out and you say, okay, well, what's the whole entire, yeah, what's the whole entire product life cycle? I mean, the funny thing is that this actually hasn't changed. What's the problem? Go get the data, build the model, evaluate it, make sure it's good, then deploy it, integrate it into your product that already doesn't go down. Do the monitoring, set up the automatic observability and alerts, maintain the thing, keep iterating. If you stop working on it, it should start dying, just like any good startup. Govern the thing when you start getting big enough that you got now regulation and responsibilities to larger swaths of consumers. For instance, if you go public or you're doing government work, and ultimately sunset that thing and lay it down, kill it, so you can do it all over again. You know, this is a great meme. I've always liked it. It's one of the best memes from MLOps, and it says, "Hey, tech debt, why are you always wearing that mask?" And this image is actually from a very famous paper. It's from this paper. And I recommend you guys read it. But like, also, it was from 2015. Machine learning offers a fantastically powerful toolkit for building useful, complex things quickly, let's say. This paper argues it is dangerous to think of these quick wins coming for free. Using the software engineering framework of technical debt, we find it common to incur massive ongoing maintenance costs in real-world ML systems. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have probably noticed it actually costs money to play out at the edge, right? All these freaking API keys and all these other things we set up. It costs money. Are we making any money here? Okay. I'll tell you, we aren't. We aren't. Okay. But like you need to if you're going to build these things. And you know, there's a lot of history here that you could go and you could start learning about. I'm not sure what happened to my middle stuff here, but let me just do a quick refresh. I want to kind of show this to you guys. We're all chill now. I can do a quick refresh on the fly. This is from Chip Huyen. Chip Huyen just wrote the only AI engineering book that's out there on the market. Came out in 2024 in December. I would pick it up, see if it makes sense to you, see if there's anything that doesn't make sense. She also wrote the Designing Machine Learning Systems book in 2022. And she also made this update to her MLOps guide in January 11th, 2025. I'm working on a MVP curriculum for ML and AI engineering. Here's the interest form if you want to test it out. Maybe fill out that interest form if you want. Now, there was also, she wrote a really, you know, sort of in between these two books, building LLM applications for production. And I think this was quite influential in the industry. There's so many rabbit holes to fall down. And this is the answer to Hugh's question, is there's just too much. She also wrote a very famous article. and it was called Data Scientists Should Not Know How to Use Kubernetes. They don't need to. It's dumb. I agree, because I tried to teach Kubernetes when I was teaching that MLOps course. And if you wanted to be an ML engineer, you actually don't need to know that stuff. And what I noticed is when people started actually understanding what went on, they were like, oh God, that's it? And you can use all these analogies and you can say, okay, well, what's Kubernetes? It's like setting up the frame of the house. Well, what if I can just buy a house off the lot? You know, it's like, why do I need to do all this custom infrastructure stuff? It's like, well, you don't until you have customers and you're making a ton of cash. And if you already have customers, you're making a ton of cash, you don't need to do new stuff. So do you want to do new stuff or do you want to do, you know, and so when we talk about LLM ops, we got to say, well, yeah, we got to know some of it. We got to understand the ideas. But do we have to know all the DevOps of LLMs? And, you know, no, because you can't know everything, but you should know about it. So, you know, I want to just have a quick discussion here before we go to the next thing. So if we really put a fine point on it, like Wiz, is LLM ops just the ops of LLM apps? What's the final word on this?
Yes, sure is, Greg.
There we go. There we go,
That's
guys.
all it is.
That's all
That's
it
all
is.
there is to it. Just ops and some LLMs. At the end of the day, obviously, it's a little bit more complex than that. But you know, I think right now, recall that we're in a space that is completely new, right? And think of how even today, you know, DevOps is changing and improving and getting better, right? I think that should speak volumes to the fact that this field has existed for like 24 months. So it's, you know, it's not hard and fast exactly what it is just yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, is it gonna be? It's like, you know, it's like, well, which are you more excited about, right? Are you more excited about ops? Are you more excited about building LLM apps 0 to 1? Are you more excited about building the apps? Or are you more excited about the hardware that we're going to connect them to? Are you more excited about the hardware that we zoom down on, like the GPUs? You're more excited about the hardware we zoom up on, like the robots? It's like there's all these different ways to go. Which way are you going to go? Well, we're not sure yet, but we're excited to follow your journey. And AI Makerspace hopefully will be there each step of the way, continuing to make things up, down, left, right, scaling vertically and horizontally as the tools, techniques, and best practices for doing awesome stuff and building stuff that creates real value for others continue to evolve as well. So, you know, I want you guys to discuss that with people. I want you to ask them about it, see if people are just full of it, see if people, you know, I think it's an interesting question. You might get it at interviews. You have to figure out what your answer is. You guys are the experts. Okay. And when you're out there and you're the expert, you got to be able to go toe to toe with the other experts talking about it. And you're going to find people that are selling LLM ops that want it to mean a certain thing. You're going to find people that are selling agents that want it to mean a certain thing. You're going to find, well, you're also going to find a lot of deep research. And so let's go deeper today. We already talked about deep research. You guys said, hey, maybe a notebook isn't the best way. You guys were right. So we're not going to use the notebook today. Instead, we're going to focus on getting this thing up and running and looking at it. We're going to use a so-called agent interactive development environment. This is a new idea. Remember, the idea behind LangGraph was that if you can build it, you can also diagram it, and vice versa. So if product can like whiteboard it with you, it's sort of one-to-one, not like some of the event-driven applications that you might have built in the past or that other frameworks might be well suited to build. This one is kind of very clear. You draw the graph, whether it's a directed cyclic or an acyclic graph. You know, and then so the viz becomes kind of interesting. Now, we thought when we first looked at this tool that it was going to be a no-code like editor, code editor. And maybe it will still be one day, but it's not. Okay. It's not. It's not no code. The thing about agents and thing about any framework that's going to use this idea of state is that we can interact with state. And the cool thing about an agent IDE is that we can actually interact with state kind of live, which is very cool. So you sort of imagine these reasoning models, you're sort of putting a layer of observability, of monitoring, of logging behind those. What are the people that are building those? What do they see on the back end? That's what you guys need to be thinking about. So they're not trying to replace code editors. They're trying to augment the development experience, even if that still happens primarily in code. So what's really cool is that we can actually take visualizations like we've seen in our notebooks and on slides and things like that, and we can like move directly into more of an interactive viz. And to show us how to move into an interactive viz with this, who should we have show us how to do an interactive viz? Wiz,
Yeah.
over to you. Deep
Okay.
research. Agent IDE.
Deep research, agent IDE. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at how to do this in our for today. Okay, so basically there is 2 steps. The first step is gonna be that we have to launch the thing, and then the second step is gonna be that we're gonna look at the thing. The launching of it is straightforward enough that I'm not gonna cover it specifically. Basically, you have to run UV add dot, and then you have to run UV run langserve dev. So not very difficult. The good stuff happens once it's running. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at very briefly the actual, I've shared the wrong screen, but the actual code that's going on behind what we're talking about. So I'm going to go into my VS Code here, and we're going to zoom in a little bit and see that there's this open deep research, which is in our deep research folder. We have, this configuration.py. This is going to be how we configure what services we're using. You'll notice that we're using GPT-4o and GPT-4o mini. This is to hopefully alleviate any potential rate limit issues that we ran into when we were using Anthropic. Then we're going to look at the actual graph.py. You'll notice that we've seen all of this code before, right? This is identical code to what we saw when we did the notebook, right? It's just not in notebook format. So it's in files. So the first thing that we have is the, our actual graph that we create, and our graph is going to be built at the end of this file, and we're going to be able to point to it. Then we have our prompts. No surprise what these are. Then we have our state. Hopefully no surprise what this is. And then some utilities. Again, this is all code we've already seen. That's why I'm kind of blazing through it, right? All we did before is we unrolled this into a single notebook as opposed to leaving it here. The next thing that we have that's important is this langgraph.json. Now, this langgraph.json is basically going to be like how we tell langgraph what the actual graph is. And you'll notice that we have we point to our source, open deep research, graph.py, graph. So what that means is that at the end of this graph.py, right, we have this graph variable that we produce after we do our .compile to compile our graph, right? So what this langgraph.json is going to do is basically it's going to point to exactly that, which means it's going to run through that code in order to produce this end graph, right? So that's the way that we kind of can decompose this into langgraph non-notebook version. Okay, so that's dope. The next thing we're going to look at is everything else is kind of normal. We have our langgraph.json. To actually run the thing is very straightforward, right? We're just going to go again cd into our deep research folder where we're going to have our langserve. I've already taken the time to install what we need, right, through UV add, including langgraph CLI in mem. That's because we're going to do this locally, so in memory. Once we have this, we just need langgraph run langgraph dev, which you can see. And then we run it, and then it goes burr. We're very happy, and then it's going to open a new tab. What this has done behind the scenes is it's launched langgraph server. all LangGraph server does is it takes this graph that we build in this graph.py, and then it exposes it through endpoints, right? So it exposes various things that we could do with any graph through some endpoints. So what does that look like? I'm going to go ahead and swap screens here, and we're going to look at it. So this is the docs. So if you're used to like Swagger UI docs, right, from Fast API, this is the same thing. It just looks prettier, which is our LangGraph platform. You can see that we have our server where it's running, and then we have the different things we can do with our LangGraph now that it is compiled and running after we did our LangGraph run dev, okay, or our UV run LangGraph dev. Okay, so we have all these endpoints. Very cool. But what do we actually do with these endpoints? Like, we could just hit them manually, right? Like, that would be totally fine. Or what we could do, and by the way, there's detailed information on every single one of these endpoints, right? So every single one of them has very well constructed docs so that you can interact with them the way that you would hope to. But we can go even easier by taking this specific, local instance of our LangGraph application that's been served through LangServe. And then what we can do is we can come to our Langsmith studio. We can go to LangGraph platform. What we can do is we can use the drop-down arrow to paste in our application, and we can connect to it. And you can see here that we are looking at the new LangGraph application. And that's that. We can see now our graph, which I've shown you guys before. And we can go ahead and we can start using it. So like, let's say, we want to use, DeepSeek R1. We want to do some research on it. We can kick this job off. We can get some errors related to the API key because this is a live demo, and the live demo gods are always just JK. I will go ahead and in the other terminal, I will put in the required keys and launch this bad boy again. And we will be off to the races. Very cool. And the idea is that we will be able to see the application going. Whoop. So we're going to refresh it. We're going to start ourselves in a new studio. And we're going to create a new thread, which is going to be DeepSeek R1. And we should be able to submit that there. And of course, it's going to fail. If this happens to you, don't panic. You just have to put your API key in the correct terminal, and then it will run. That's that. But the idea is we've seen this demonstration. It runs through the loop. It goes to the different points. We can see it working. We can click into it working. That's the IDE, and that's the way we can set it up. I'm gonna let you guys do it successfully now in the breakout room, which will be a little bit easier, and we'll get rocking together that way. So I will pass you back to Greg, who will get us into our breakout room so we can play with this ourselves.
Yeah, we got an interesting question from Hugh in the chat, an astute question, I might say. It seems like this is a dev tool. Is there some sort of production issue that agent IDEs are solving?
Yes.
I see it.
That's a great question, Hugh. So basically, the way that I would think about this is as follows. We have a what's the right word? We must be able to monitor our applications. We must be able to test them. We must be able to understand how they work. And so while this is not something that you are going to run and expose to your users in public, the IDE portion, the actual portion that's powering it, which is those, the APIs that come as part of LangServe, that is going to be the thing that serves this application to your customers, right? The Langsmith Studio is just, or LangGraph Studio is just a way that we can interface with those endpoints in a simple, straightforward way, right? So this is how we're going to test our production application. It is not itself something that we're going to say push into, our production environment. So all that to say that yes, this is a production tool, but it's kind of sitting in front of the thing that is going to be in production, and it's a way for us to interact with and test it. Though again, when we run that lang, when we ran UV run lang graph dev, right? That is the thing that we're going to the same command we're going to use to push this thing into production, so that users can start consuming it.
Yeah, so the important context here, Hugh, is that like this idea of LangGraph IDE is this like cool newfangled thing, okay? And it's sort of this layer on top. But what is really going on behind the scenes is we have LangGraph platform that we'll talk more about next time when we get into on-prem, and we'll talk about hosting ourselves. And essentially, LangGraph Studio is a viz tool that sort of sits within LangGraph platform. Again, we'll talk more about this architecture, but LangGraph platform that you asked about is the way that, you know, if we build the RAG app, we have the endpoints that we can basically set up as APIs, but we actually want to be able to set up the whole app as an API, and we want to be able to monitor the whole thing. And this allows us to sort of do that. So as you guys, you know, use this tool a bit, play with it, think about sort of the next layer of abstraction, which is kind of the last layer of abstraction, where this is that sort of full end-to-end. And again, importantly, it's a rebrand. LangGraph platform is a rebrand of LangGraph Cloud, which is a more one-to-one way of thinking about the agent applications we've been building in LangGraph. So yeah, great cue. All right, so we're going to give you guys as much time as we can in breakout rooms before we close out today. And, you know, spend some time, see if you can just get deep research in, see if you can visualize it with LangGraph Studio, the IDE. And also, by the way, Hugh, I don't know if you noticed, everybody keeps demanding visualizations throughout this entire cohort. And I'm sure that it's been the same for all of LangChain's customers as well. So is there a real use case for that? I think that's a great community session argument, potentially. Okay, 25 minutes. We'll see you back. 25-ish. See you back. Where are you guys? So we are having what? Canva issues today, it appears like. Okay. All right. Recording in progress. There we go. All right. So LangSmith. Remember, we learned about this when we started learning LangChain. And they said it's an all-in-one developer platform for every step of the LLM-powered application lifecycle, whether you're building with LangChain or not. Okay, yeah, that's a little salesy. Further, LLM apps are powerful, but have peculiar characteristics. The non-determinism coupled with unpredictable natural language inputs make for countless ways the system can fall short. Traditional engineering practices need to be reimagined for working with LLMs. In other words, LangSmith turns LLM magic into enterprise-ready applications. You know, we've seen over this past week that production really isn't actually that difficult. The tooling that we have today that we can pick up off the shelf to get us running and not going down is quite good. And remember, like LLM ops is just the ops of LLMs, and it's easier. You know, it's built on the back of MLOps. It's built on the back of DevOps. It's built on the back of DevSecOps. It's built on the back of all this work that we've ever done to make digital products and digital software products easy to make, easy to build, ship, and share. And really, when it comes down to it, LLMOps is about improving what you build, ship, and share. What should you build, ship, and share? We've taught you one full stack ecosystem, but you could pick up any of them. They're all going to do the same things. And they're probably all going to have a little visualization on them. Now, next time we're going to go deeper into LangGraph platform, because a lot of times we want to work locally in a local sandbox. We want to make sure that we can keep our applications very, very tight, very, very safe. For instance, in highly secure environments, in defense applications or healthcare applications, this is quite useful. And it's a lot of fun to watch Wiz set up a fully on-prem setup. He's got obviously a really crazy setup that is fun to watch. So that's what we're going to do next time. We're going to build agents on-prem. And again, there won't be homework associated that's required. So I want you guys to focus in on that demo day. And I want you guys to continue to think about what is worth improving as you figure out what you're going to build, ship, and share for demo day. And with that, we're going to feedback time, guys. 2 minutes on the clock. Please tell us what you thought about today. Please tell us how you think it's coming together. Please tell us what you need from here. And please help us improve, guys. Thanks for filling out the feedback. Thanks for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure kicking off the first week of production. Next week, we are going to keep building, shipping, and sharing. We're going to do on-prem agents. On Tuesday, we're going to talk about inference optimization, which just opens up a whole new can of worms if you're interested in getting down towards that GPU level. But remember, guys, you guys know enough. It's really more about what you're going to do from here. Nobody cares about what you did yesterday, guys. The most important thing you can do is start filling out the page that hasn't yet been written. The most important thing is figure out what you're going to build, ship, and share next. If you've already built something, how are you going to MLOps it? How are you going to take it to the next level? Who are you going to share it with? That's what we're going to focus on as we get into next week. We're going to tee you guys up with the best practices that we've learned for sharing. We're going to encourage you to share Demo Day with your network. We're going to try to make sure that you've got all the resources you need to go and really crush that live event like we try to do. At least you can try to be at our level and hopefully even beyond. And we look forward to seeing what you build, ship, and share as part of our community. All you guys that are still here, absolute legends. We'll see you next week. Have a restful weekend. Dream about Demo Day. It's coming soon. See you guys. Have an awesome rest of your week and a beautiful weekend. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
Let's see. Got some playoff tunes here. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See ya.